betraying a quite stupefying ignorance.
Thanks, Bodge, you're the best. So, France has been accused of breaking the Brexit deal. Not the Brexit deal that we've broken already and wanted to rip up as soon as we signed it. Not that precious Brexit deal.
Oh, no.
And Greta Thunberg has arrived in Glasgow by train. Presumably it was a train run on fairy dust. Well, got on a train run by electricity, did she? Yes. Run by diesel, was it? Yes. Push her out to sea, let her drown. So I don't normally do weather 2 days in a row, but there is a lot of it about, and it's mostly outside. Britain is braced for more life-threatening floods and strong winds this weekend after an inch of rain is set to fall in the northwest after torrential downpours caused sewers to overflow into the streets.
Disgusting.
It's a good job that privatised water companies haven't been prioritising profits for shareholders and executives over fixing the ageing infrastructure that they were gifted by the Conservative government when they wrote off all the debts before flogging them off, because that would be scandalous. Residents were warned to be careful of dangerous, fast-flowing and deep floodwaters after 16 inches of rain fell in Cumbria since Wednesday morning, with a foot falling in the first day and a half. Blimey. You're kidding me. A foot of rain. How is that even possible? Don't kids ask me to translate it into European surrender measurements. It's a foot. British measurements. Some things should be measured in inches and feet, and rain is one of them. Snow is another. That's it. Very, very difficult Welsh word coming up. A landslide following torrential rain this morning also led to police shutting a road in the beauty spot village of Nevin in Gwynedd. Hey, bet I got that right. Welsh people, would you like to buy a vowel?
No.
Amidst the flooding, 14 sites across along the coast in the region this week have seen sewage overflows. This is according to data released by the campaign Surfers Against Sewage, or, as I like to call them, Dudes Against Doo-Doos. If you go down to surf today, you're in for a big surprise. Don't get any on you. Locals in the Lake District village of Staveley told the Super Soaraway Mirror that raw sewage was bubbling up and erupting into the streets from overflow drains. Wow. Into the streets.
Emergency, everybody to get from street. Emergency, everybody to get from street.
Meanwhile, more heavy rain is expected, falling on already saturated ground in some parts, and I sincerely hope that your parts remain unaffected. The Environment Agency said... They said in England, as of this morning, there are 8 flood warnings in place and 51 flood alerts. And you know what the difference between a warning and an alert is? I actually have that information right here. A flood warning is that flooding is expected, as in...
Warning! Warning!
A flood alert means that flooding remains likely. Well, that's not really any clearer, is it? Is expected or remains likely? I mean, the dividing line between the two, pretty thin, I'd say. About a couple of feet. It follows the government climbing down over legal controls against dumping raw sewage into waterways following a backlash. It's a rare moment that even his most ardent cult fans said that Bodger had gone too far. What was it that did it for you, people? Was it the fast-flowing rivers of poop sweeping through your living rooms that made you say no? Was it a brown line in the sand beyond which you were not prepared to go?
Yes.
The House of Lords, backed by 213 votes to 60, a proposal to place a new legal duty on water companies to take all reasonable steps to prevent sewage discharges, which means that 60 of our unelected bureaucrats that run this country thought that it was just peachy to have raw sewage in our waters. Presumably, as long as it wasn't anywhere near their land. This enabled the bill to be sent back to the Commons, where the government will table its own amendment to put a legal duty on utility firms to, quotes, secure a progressive reduction in the adverse impacts of discharges from storm overflows, which is so weak and vague it's totally meaningless, almost as though that was the intention. Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
Blah, 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 blah. Louise Edmondson, a mother of 5 who moved to Staveley in 2015, said, "Each time it rains, sewage bubbles out of the drains. It's disgusting." Excellent use of the word bubbles there, I think. I'm never going to think of anything that bubbles in the same way again. She said the manhole is close to a footbridge that leads over the river to a playground.
Oh, no.
Yes. She says we have to stop young children from playing in the sewage. No mud pies for you, little Johnny. Paul Hancock, the manager of the Waterage Inn in Ambleside, which backs onto Lake Windermere in the Lake District, said he believes that the lake has raw sewage in it. Lake Windermere, one of the biggest tourist draws and most stunningly beautiful areas that this country possesses, is a toilet. Literally. Yesterday, an Environment Agency boss warned Brits not to risk swimming in the country's rivers. So you can look at it, just don't get any on you. John Leyland, the agency's chief of staff, insisted that rivers were, quotes, not there for human swimming, and were instead for the wildlife and the fish that live within them, or die within them, poisoned to death by our effluent. Almost as though he is suggesting that the Conservative Party has gifted us our rivers.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We'll read the small print about what we're supposed to do with them. Like it's a present. The stuff that's going on is just absolutely mind-boggling. It's making my mind bubble. Data released by the Environment Agency shows that water companies dumped raw sewage into England's rivers and seas more than... Now, I did mention this number yesterday. If you haven't heard the actual number, then sit down or, at the very least, grip onto something firm. The Environment Agency said that water companies dumped raw sewage into England's rivers and seas more than 400,000 times last year.
What?
400,000 times raw sewage. God, it's like living back in the Dark Ages. Why don't we just go in a bucket and chuck it out the window? Here's a fun fact. In Scotland, as we learned yesterday on this show, I mean, some people knew this already. I didn't. It is an education, this show, every now and again.
Affirmative.
Yeah, every now and again. Fun fact, in Scotland, the water has not been sold off to profit-hungry ghouls. And in Scotland, Scottish Water has invested over a third more per household than the for-profit English firms. Huh. And they've charged the bill payers 14% less. Perhaps because they didn't pay out £2 billion a year to investors. Honestly, sometimes I don't know why Scotland puts up with us. In Scotland, the directors did not feel so utterly pleased with their own performance in running water companies that they awarded themselves £2.4 million a year in salaries, as is the case with some English water companies. £2.4 million a year in salaries to run a company that's partly responsible for dumping raw sewage into England's rivers and seas more than 400,000 times last year. £2.4 million for that. Seriously, what kind of stupid country sells off its water? What kind of political party would allow it, Bodge? Who would have expected that a commercial company would have acted any other way than to minimise outgoings, load the business with debt, and pay the money borrowed to shareholders and the people in the big offices? Because that's what businesses do. And it's okay if they're selling food or clothes, because we can always not shop with them. But you can't do that with water. If the Conservatives could find a way to sell our air, they'd have done it already and have told us that it's good for us. They'd have said that's what the British people want. It's the patriotic thing to do. And if we don't like it, we always have the option of not breathing. And in a wonderful coincidence, while sewage is bubbling out of drains and tidal waves of effluent surge through the streets and homes, world leaders head to the COP26 climate change conference in Glasgow, which is partly underwater. And if that doesn't focus their minds, nothing will. Which means that nothing will. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger said this week that we should save the planet, and he's an actual Terminator.
Correct.
Last year was the 6th wettest year for the UK ever. February 2020 was the wettest on record. October the 3rd, 2020, was the UK's wettest day on record, with enough rain falling across the country to fill Loch Ness.
What?
That's a true fact. I mean, this all seems to be a warning that the path we're on is not the right one, that it will soon be submerged and become a river if we don't do something about it. That path that we're on. And as we won't do anything about it except congratulate ourselves for sorting our plastic rubbish from our paper and taking a Hessian bag to the shops, we're going to need a bigger boat. This country's going down. 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's @lbc, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC.
Hello, number please. Trying to connect you. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Yes, I'm sorry to keep you waiting. Stephen in St Ives. I'll take your call straight away. Yes, sir.
Am I speaking to Nick Abbott?
Yes.
No, I'm sorry. I've been waiting for a bit of a while.
No, you haven't, mate. You've been waiting for 6 minutes. What are you talking about? This show's only just started. I've been waiting for a while. Are you kidding me? 6 minutes is all.
I've got £90 an hour, Nick.
Go ahead.
It's very good to speak. We were talking about drain issues and things like that.
Yeah.
To the person I spoke to previous to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's serious drain issues. I'm in Cambridgeshire, Anglian Water. Can I name the water authority?
Well, you just did, so that's probably all we can hear from you. That's probably all we've got time for on that call. It depends what you're going to say. You're going to lavish them with praise?
Well, I'm going to say about every water authority in England and Wales in 2011 adopted all shared drains and all drains off their property. And I think, as a drain person, an independent person, that's...
Oh, here we go with the mobile phones again. Oh, my God, will they ever make one that works as a phone?
Can you not hear me?
Oh, there you are. Yes. We lost you for a moment there. It sounded like you just climbed down into a drain. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, mate, my friend, I feel like I live in a train. In 2011, all drain companies in England and Wales adopted all shared drains and all drains off your property.
They adopted them?
They adopted them, and they assumed ownership of those drains.
Right.
So for where I live, in an area which I'm not going to mention because I don't want to get cut off, that meant that they took hold of drains that had issues, whether they knew that they had issues or they didn't know that they had issues.
Yeah.
They didn't ask for a survey of those drains that they adopted.
Yeah. Why did they adopt them? They looked into their sad little lives and thought they could give them a better life?
Do you know what, Nick? I don't know. And it made me think at the time, should I stop dealing with drainage issues? If I can't deal with shared drains and drainage off people's land, will I still have a business?
Right. So I'm very confused. What is the point that you're trying to make?
What I'm trying to make is...
Shall I put you on hold?
They don't do anything. They adopted these things, and they kind of, by doing so, it took ownership. And it's hidden things away from the people, if you like.
Well, the drains are a good place to do that.
But it certainly is, isn't it? Yeah. And we only see it at certain times.
Yeah, when it bubbles up.
It's gone, it's forgotten. So we see it like once a year. It becomes a big issue.
Yeah. Or it seems to be more than once a year. It seems to be like every other week we get reports of years worth. Years.
You're right. In a way, you're right.
Let's both shout at the same time, and then nobody can understand what we're saying. Go ahead.
Well, it's a person who works in drains. Since January this year, all the people that do the dig-out work for me have been doing is dealing with soakways and rain drainage. So, yeah, that's different.
Right. I'm still unsure as to what point it is you were trying to make.
Well, a lot of this problem is hidden. So, for instance, it's difficult without naming people. How can I say what I'm going to say?
Is it a bloke called Jeff?
Jeff. No, it's nobody
Not
called
Jeff
at all, Nick.
Dave?
Okay.
Sid?
So,
is it Sid?
Okay, Nick. Okay, Nick. So a customer that I've had recently, that I've had for the last year, and certainly since before January last year, they've had block drains since before then. But previous to that, a local pump station to them has broken down. Now, these pump stations that deal with sewerage, normally, from Victorian houses and normal houses, they might deal with maybe 300 litres a minute of water pumping through them. But when this rainfall comes through, it might go up to 1,300 litres a minute.
Right, highly unpredicted rainfall.
These pump stations then break down. Then another issue we've got is we've got Anglian water drainage going. We've got water authority drainage going into those drains.
Stephen, I think you've failed.
No,
I still have no idea what it is you're trying to say. Can you just sum it up in one sentence?
Sewage drains going into those drains. We've got water drains going into those drains.
So no is the answer to that question.
What I know is
there's a lot of water about, and it's mostly bubbling up, brown. I tried for as long as I could, Stephen, but I have no idea what it is you're trying to say, other than there's a lot of water about. Don't get any on your shoes. But anyway, thanks a lot, mate. He works in a drain. I prefer to work in an office. That's just me. This text says, these are texts from last night. Okay, I'm wiping up the texts from last night. This says, the waxwork of Joe Biden is missing from Madame Tussauds. Has anybody seen it around? He doesn't look like he's made from wax. The person who looks like he's made from wax is that moon-faced creep who runs Facebook. That's the guy that looks like he's made from wax. Have you ever seen a waxier-looking person in your life? It's like he's never seen the outside. No, Joe Biden looks like he's made from parchment. It looks like somebody like origami'd him from ancient scrolls. Like he might burst into flame any moment. Terry texts, Mr. Abbott, spelt wrong. I have a theory as to why spiders are so blinking scary. This is I was talking last night about sitting in a pub next to one of their Halloween displays. And it had... like spiders' webs and so on, like you do. But it also had little black spiders in it. And I knew that they were plastic, but it still didn't prevent a sort of an ingrained response within me wanting to back away from them. Of course, a libation came to my rescue.
Booze.
And I forgot about it. Anyway, she says, their legs are the shape of angry-shaped eyebrows. So when you see that furry spider running with its 8 angry legs across the sitting room carpet towards you, it can only mean one thing, that it wants to inject you with venom, wrap you up in a web, and eat you at a later date. No, Terry, that's the alien monster, which mostly comes out at night. Mostly. Andy texts, Nick, first time in history alcohol is cheaper than petrol, so just drink, don't drive. Or you could do what Prince Charles does. As his Aston Martin running on wine, if you can believe that. I'll get to him in a minute. Jake tweets, I'll get to you in a minute, Chaz. Don't you worry about that. Jake tweets, when my wife complains about your show, I just tell her, leave him alone. He's doing his best. Sue says it was 85 cars. This is Joe Biden, Uncle Joe's motorcade. 85 cars. Quite a few people texted me saying this. It was 85 cars because of COVID. Maximum of only 3 people are allowed in each car. Well, that's ridiculous. You think that 3 people aren't going to... if you only have 3 people in a car, they're not going to catch it off each other? It's a car. How big are these cars? I mean, I know they're American cars, but they're not that big. Pat tweets, why can't we ask the fish what they want? To be cooked in a nice French wine and consumed over a 5-course fine dining experience, or battered, riddled with grease, and shoveled away by Big John on his way home after 10 pints at the Working Man's Club? It does seem like a cruel and unusual punishment. Once you execute a fish to do what we do with it. I mean, no, the taste of no fish will survive that. You ain't tasting fish, you're tasting 3-day-old chip fat. Do you want sauce with that? Available in Embra. Gordon texts, what are the chances, Nick, of President Biden, A, being caught drinking iron brew, and B, using the word fan-dabby-dozy before COP26 is over? High, I would say, says Gordon. I think he'll probably be necking the bucky. Have you seen the price lately?
What?
Exactly. Thanks a lot, Fishy. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC. It's 10:30. The news headlines with Zora Solomon.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Lynn texts, this is another one from last night. The world leaders are gathering to discuss climate change. Has anyone worked out how much emissions have been created to have this chinwag? Why couldn't they use Zoom and all stay at home? Not only reducing the carbon footprint, but also just how much is the security costing us? Lynn, if you have to ask, you can't afford it. Paul tweets, hi Nick, in China, they only have one time zone, so in Beijing it's 6 a.m, and 3,000 miles away, it's 6 a.m. but midnight. That can't be true. I don't believe you. Wrong. Incorrect. Can't be true. And Steve says, you can be thankful in the UK you do not have huntsman spiders. These spiders are ubiquitous in Australia. Our house is always on red alert at the sighting of one of these spiders until the issue has been resolved to death. All spiders and clothes moths must be executed on site, no exceptions. Concert, Sean.
Nick, I want you to get me head round it. Like I'm going to lolly, mate.
Mm-hmm.
What is the environment got to do with meat?
What's the environment?
Why are they going to put a tax on meat for the environment?
I have a theory about that.
Isn't it the rockets and the millionaires that's going up in space to see the clangers?
Well, that doesn't help. And once they get there, they wouldn't understand a word that the clangers are saying anyway. Why are they bothering?
The soup dragon. But I just kind of get my head wrong. Get these vegetarians on the phone and tell us what's eating meat got to do with the planet. Like.
Right, I will do that straight away. Thanks a lot, Sean.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, get some vegetarians on the phone right now. I mean it. I think it's about when we left the European Union. Do you remember the European Union? Yes, that's them. They used to send an enormous amount of money to farmers for the upkeep of their business because it's very important to produce, a significant amount of food in the place that you live, rather than buying it from Australia. which, in order to save the planet, that's what we're doing. I mean, the whole world's gone insane. Well, they were promised, were farmer persons, that the government was going to replicate all of the money that the EU sent, as indeed they promised, places in Wales and Cornwall and all the rest of it that were in receipt of vast amounts of EU money, because they were, they were poorer than the rest of the country. And the EU was sending the money because conservative governments had serially failed to pay attention to their plight. Well, in order to get Brexit done, or to get us to vote for that, the government insisted that don't worry about a thing. We're going to replicate the money. You won't lose a penny. Anybody believe that? Well, here comes the news. Now, I'm joining the dots here, reading between the lines. But I betcha, that's what this is about. New meat taxes appear to have been backed by the Environment Secretary ahead of the COP26 climate change talks. The what now? The idea could see the cost of meat rise.
Oh, no.
This comes as George Useless said that the UK would need to introduce carbon taxes in future. Oh, my God, is there anything they're not going to tax us about? But farmers have warned if the same does not happen in other countries, British farmers would face going out of business. It almost seems as though that's the plan. If the plan is to send Great Britain out of business, then things appear to be going very well. If the plan is to keep Britain in business, then they couldn't be doing worse. George Useless said the changes to the £3.5 billion subsidy given out by the EU for farmers would be altered to ensure they are incentivised to produce food that's more environmentally friendly. Altered, I would guess, as in cancelled. You know that £3.5 billion that farmers are using to just stay afloat? Yeah, I wouldn't rely on that too long. Still, when you voted for Brexit, I suppose you knew what you were voting for. That's what I've heard over and over and over again. Jordan emails, my W.H. Smith diary says for Sunday, British summertime ends, brackets, if observed, thus suggesting it was considering being dropped. Well, it's been considering being dropped for as long as I can remember. When we talk about this at this time of year, every blooming year, over and over and over again, and nothing ever happens. And I maintain that nothing happens, despite the fact that the vast majority of the public would like to see lighter evenings. I'm utterly convinced of that. Nothing ever happens because to do nothing would mean that no politician would get it in the neck from a newspaper if something happened because of it. Like there's bound to be a crash because there are crashes all the time. And a newspaper will say, aha, that crash followed you changing the point at which the clocks go back. Therefore, you personally are responsible, Minister. What do you have to say for yourself? So they want to avoid that. So it's better to do nothing because they won't get blamed. I think it's probably it. Painful. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
Tony says, as President Biden has 85 vehicles, I was wondering if he gets them in order, does he get extra points?
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
You get extra points if you get it in order. Let's have Streatham. Hello, John.
Oh, hello, Nick. Hi.
John.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, I thought I'd call you on the fun Saturday show because my calls on a Sunday show to you are quite depressing about jails and murder and stuff.
Oh, my God.
No, yeah.
Forthcoming attractions. Thanks.
No, I'll talk about fun stuff today. So the climate emergency and Greta Thunberg, I agree with, you know that phrase, I agree with Nick, used to be a thing about Nick Clegg. Yeah. I agree with James O'Brien. He said, and I quote, that Greta Thunberg is a modern-day prophet. And I agree. I think she's one in a million. She's one of these people that I've only been tearful at 3 public events. One is I watched a live cast of her speech. 2 is when I was taken to an Ed Sheeran concert. Hey?
Yeah, that would make me cry too. Well, against your wishes, you were dragged there, kicking and screaming. No, I don't want to go.
And the third one, I know you really won't like the third one, I know, because I know your views on him, but I did wait. It's not Uncle Nigel.
See, again with the phones, what is happening on this show? Lean out the window.
Is it any better?
That's better.
And I waited 8 hours to see Michael Jackson's last appearance at the O2 in 2009.
Right.
So I think she's a modern-day prophet. I've opened the window. But I also think the environment is probably not as important as this. Have you heard of this? Have you seen the videos about the metaverse that is going to be the new thing?
Oh, that waxy doper was dribbling on about you'll never have to leave your bedroom again. That?
Well, I mean, you say waxy dope, but if you think about what's happened with Teams, Zoom, I don't know that Facebook own WhatsApp. They own Instagram. They own Facebook, obviously.
John, they probably own Streatham.
Well, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't cost much, the way things are going, but he terrified me. It made me, I almost had like an aha moment when I watched his metaverse videos today, because, some of the nuttier commentators, including some on your station, I won't mention any names, they talk about, the big state, it's, big tech, they're overbearing, they're enveloping us. Russell Brand says this as well. Someone else I saw live in concert in 2016. And I think it's going to be terrifying. And some of the smartest people I know, they've deleted WhatsApp. They've deleted Facebook, because all of my political opinions and views and everything, they're all online. I upload pictures of food.
It's all going on your permanent record.
Oh, no.
Stay with you forever.
But this metaverse, it's what it is for those of your listeners.
So tell me, I mean, as far as I could tell, and I gave it about 10 seconds, because it just looked like that waxy dope was standing in a room looking at a cartoon image of himself, which I think that sounds perfect. It sums him up totally.
Which was more, some of the comments said the cartoon image is more human than the actual guy.
Right.
But it will be that you put on AI headset,
right,
and you can do everything online and not leave your house. Now, if it was one of your regular callers, I mean, no offence, but if it was one of your regular callers saying stuff like this, I'd just laugh it off and change the channel. But
exactly how different is that from what we've got now? Because everybody walks around staring at their phones. It drives me to distraction. I just can't stand it. I every time I go to the gym, I go insane with fury. I want to kill people, but you're not allowed to because of the European Union. They sit on machines staring at their phone, and it'll be the only machine of its type in the gym. And so there's like a queue of people who want to get on it, and like 10 minutes go by, and they'll still be staring at their phones, doing their vitally important phone business with their fingers waggling over the screen. And you say, Are you going to be long? Have you got any many more sets to do? And they'll just look up for a moment and go, yeah, I've got like 2 sets. And then they go back to staring at their phone again, like I'm standing there. I mean, really, if the stuff you see when you've left the house without your gun.
It'll be worse. It will become like this fourth dimension. And I watched his videos back to back, and then before calling you, I started watching a Clinton interview from 2004, and I thought, when we had great political leaders. I'm not a big believer that Biden and Hillary Clinton are sort of much better than Trump. They're a bit better, but not much better.
Kidding?
No, come on, no. I know I'm going to anger you now. And don't even ask me how I voted on recent referendum and elections, but I don't want to fall out with you. But no, I'm just saying that I think Clinton's another one who, had he died about 20 years ago, it would have been much better for his image. But now he's just become creepy and old and all of this. But, I'm a fan.
Well, if everybody died when they were 20, then they'll always be beautiful. Don't forget that. Yeah. Right. It's nothing to worry about, John. The future that you have just described is here already. It's here. What the waxy creep who runs Facebook, he was just talking about, instead of looking at your phone, you look through Google or Facebook at the world rather than look at your phone. You look through glasses at the world, at which point we will be totally screwed because people will take to it instantaneously. They will give up everything for a small convenience. We know that that's true because we've done it already. And then we look around and wonder where everything that we used to like went. Well, we killed it, is what happened. Like the high street, for instance. And all of that stuff, it's just a progression of what we got. Instead of looking at your phone, you'll look through your phone, which will be a pair of glasses. How is that better? Metaverse. Have you ever heard anything so ridiculous in your life? 0345 6060 973. I mean, the only part that I actually heard, not remotely interested, was you will be able to talk to somebody and receive your emails at the same time, but they won't know that you're reading your emails instead of paying attention to them. How is that better? How is that better for humankind?
It can only be attributable to human error.
LBC. Join me, Andrew Castle, here on LBC.
We've got to reduce what we're consuming and the way we are consuming it if we wish to reduce our carbon footprint and keep the increasing temperature of the planet down to a level where it is sustainable. We all understand that. We don't need people gluing themselves to the roads to know that this is an existential crisis.
Join me, Andrew Castle, tomorrow morning from 7. Listen on your radio and on Global Player, LBC.
This might sound like a rowing machine, but it's actually the sound of Wendy feeling about 10 years younger. So it's more of a time machine, really.
Whatever your reason for making a positive change in life, Vitality Health and Life Insurance motivates you with everything from half-price trainers to weekly Cafe Nero coffees when you're active. Vitality, sharing the benefits of healthy living. Just search Vitality. Discounts and rewards available with certain plans. Minimum monthly premiums and conditions apply.
There's this something, kind of looks like a plus, because it is one. Call it a plus for your printer, as in more, better, smarter. Plus lets you print from anywhere, orders ink ahead and, get this, helps protect forests every time you print, while it saves you real money. It's Plus, and it's everything your printer always wanted. HP Plus from HP. Subject to conditions, see hp.com/UK/plus for details.
Steve loves his brand new shiny Subaru Outback. In fact, there's nothing he likes better than spending all weekend getting it utterly, completely filthy. The all-new, all-wheel drive Subaru Outback from $33,995. Our toughest, most rugged SUV yet, with advanced safety features fitted as standard. Mud not included. Visit your local Subaru dealer and book a test drive. Subaru, the next generation of adventure.
Sit comfortably. Feel the weight lift from your shoulders as you place your shopping bags down. Listen to the hustle and bustle of families fade all around you. Now, with your eyes open, tuck into a hard-earned McDonald's.
Relax and avoid standing in the queue with table service on the My McDonald's app. Simply find a table, order, and we'll do the rest. Table service is at participating restaurants only. Visit the McDonald's website for a list of available restaurants.
People need answers when they call Macmillan, so you really need to be able to get things done. If a patient says they're worried about money, I make sure they're getting every benefit they're entitled to. If they're anxious about a partner's treatment, we'll get them counselling. I even sorted a patient's parking ticket the other day. I mean, that's the last thing they needed on their plate. I do what I have to do. So if I have to ask you to make a donation, it isn't going to faze me either. You can do that now at macmillan.org.uk. Macmillan Cancer Support. Whatever it takes.
Across the UK, thousands of people are switching broadband every day because they've realised if they're out of contract, they could be out of pocket. There has never been a better time to switch and save. Get Vodafone Superfast Broadband from only £19.50 a month. Switch today. Together we can. Vodafone.
CPI plus 3.9% increase each April. 24-month contract subject to credit check acceptance and availability. Cheaper versus publicly available out-of-contract non-promotional per-month pricing of competitors as of 17th of the 8th, 2021. Terms and verification at vodafone.co.uk/broadband.
At the Halifax, we can help make your home a more sustainable one. Just sign up to one of our online events in partnership with Energy Saving Trust and find out how to make your home more energy efficient. So whether you want to learn how to insulate your home, find out more about draft proofing, or just discover other sustainable home solutions, we can help. Visit halifax.co.uk/home events to find out more. Halifax, it's a people thing.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Yeah! Dudes! Greg texts, Halloween is nearly here. Maybe we could all wear some scary Priti Patel masks to stop all those French boats from coming over here and nicking our fish. That would be frightening. RJ says that 85-car motorcade is nothing compared to the 10,000-mile return trip that the president made. Apparently it's going to generate £2.2 million of carbon, whatever that is, says RJ. And Phil says, I have a plan to solve the fishing problem, but I first need to know how a branding iron would work on fishes. Make them happy, as long as you brand them with a Union Jack. Of course. They'll be dead, but all the happier for it, because they'll be British and dead. What a beautiful sound. Doncaster. Hello, Colin.
Hello, Nick. You asked for a vegetarian?
Oh, yes.
I'm a vegetarian.
And how's that working out for you?
It's all right.
It's all right. Right.
So how does it impact on the environment? Well, cows require grass, yeah?
Cows?
Yes.
Yes.
And other farmyard animals as such that meat eaters consume.
Yeah.
They also require water, and quite a lot of it, because some of them are quite large, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Big fat cows. Yeah.
One runs the country. And so therefore they require lots of water. And that's what it's got to do with the environment. They consume lots of water. 1 kilogram of beef is 15,200 litres of water, apparently.
Wow.
Requires in order to produce. So for the chap who asked you, that's the answer.
Woo! Oh, that was absolutely spectacular. I need a cigarette and a lie down. Oh, how was that for you, Colin?
Inspirational.
Yeah, no, you're right about that whole water thing. They also take an enormous amount of land. It's a very, very inefficient way to get food. Correct?
Correct, yeah.
I feel like I've done my bit, though, because I was a vegetarian for over 20 years. I mean, I did eat fish, but fish are vegetables, aren't they? I think so. Yeah, I think
if you want to look at it that way,
yeah,
but
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, definitely not, though.
Yeah, they probably are, yeah. I'll look it up later. All right, excellent work. Thanks a lot, Colin. 0345 6060 973. Stu texts, Cumbria here. In 2015, we had 48 centimetres. That's 1.5 feet of rain in 30 hours. 1,300 bridges were damaged and deemed unusable. 1,300? He says, I parked my vehicle at the top of a fell road near Windermere and I watched water oozing out of the ground, even at that height. Advice from the Shadow Environment Secretary was, quotes, they should invest in more bridges and shouldn't have tarmacked over their driveways and invested in flood defences. Useful advice, thanks for that. We built flood defences after the 2009 floods. It was raining inside the flood defences. They didn't think of that. They should have built a flood defence and a roof. Idiots. They need constant supervision. Wanstead. Hello, Sophie.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
I'm great, mate.
Sorry. I'm a vegetarian too.
Right.
I feel like that man who stands up and says, I'm Spartacus. But I'm a vegetarian. But the one thing that's always struck me as odd is people who are so passionate about pets and how we're a nation of animal lovers, and then they have a piece of beef practically moving on the plate.
Oh.
And this... No, it's true.
Well, they don't keep cows as pets.
No, I know, but they're animals.
Yeah, but you said pet, but like I don't think we are a nation of animal lovers. I think we're quite cruel to animals. We just like to persuade ourselves that we're kind to animals because we stroke our cats and we pet our dogs. Mostly. Some people are really, really cruel to even their pets. But the reason that I say that I don't believe that we're a nation of animal lovers is because of the animal products that we buy. If you wanted to ensure that the animals concerned had a small degree of a better life before they were executed for your dinner, then you buy organic. You buy more expensive and less of it. But we don't. Not remotely interested, and I know, and the truth of that is in the amount of shelf space that supermarkets give organic food.
Nick, people are never going to do that. If we've got to the stage where people are ordering fast food on bikes, we're beyond all help, really, because I just think that people are, they don't see the end game, and I think we're guests on this planet, and I think the animals are here first. I'm not militant, but I do think we need to be less selfish and live in concert with all the creatures and just respect
even
the
even the
planet.
ones that are tasty.
No, and there's no nice way to kill an animal. I'm sorry to.
Even the ones that had the most pleasant life, you can't actually laugh them to death. You have to use a stronger method. Yeah.
Exactly.
But you know what? The animals weren't here first. Microbes were here first. So maybe we should give the Earth back to microbes, the primordial ooze.
But if we believe in the theory of evolution, they wish it all started off as amoeba or microbes, and then so they're all animals at some level. But I just think the vegetarianism is the way to go, and I know that there are lots of. The other thing I really object to is calling. Substitute meat products by the names that the meat product is, like sausage or Phillips
or bacon, fake bacon.
Exactly. I don't want to be reminded.
That's kind of mystifying, really. But the manufacturers do that because they are aiming their products at people who would have bought meat. I'm pretty sure that's the reason why. So it's not by accident. That's the reason that they're doing it. Sausages and bacon is the weird one to me. I mean, why would you fashion something made out of vegetables that looks and tastes like bacon? Other than you're trying to persuade people not to buy bacon. Here's an acceptable substitute. Not sure about that.
Exactly.
I'll try some, Sophie, and I'll get back to you later. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Well, the whole world's gone crazy.
Excellent way in which you maintained a straight face there, Zora Suleiman. The only reason that she could do that while coming off the back of that potato story and that bloke is because she is a trained professional. Don't you try this at home. Edward texts, the likelihood of raw sewage seeping out of street gullies in Hampstead is unlikely because most of them haven't been emptied in a decade and are filled with grit and composted leaves to the surface. Okay, if you say so. Francis tweets, the French are just rescuing the fish from English sewage. Yeah, when they read our paper, when our papers are translated for them and they find out what's in our waters, they'll spin around and hot-foot it.
Disgusting.
Awful. And by the way, as far as I'm aware, that letter that was leaked did not say that the French wanted us to suffer for leaving the European Union. That was a mistranslation, and I am surprised at John Rentoul repeating that. I think it was actually that they said that we shouldn't be able to get away with anything we blooming well like, whether we've signed an agreement to the contrary or not. Ricky tweets, hey, Ricky, you're so fine, my name Ricky. He says, don't give Bodger and Fishy any ideas. They might reintroduce the window tax. Yeah. Carnforth. Hello, Annie.
Hello, Nick.
Annie.
I wasn't going to ring up about. Didn't ring up about this, but I have to agree with you. I don't think we are a nation of animal lovers, or even a lot of us pet lovers. because all these pets that people have bought, dogs particularly, during lockdown, now they've just ditched them all. They're all in shelter. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them are in shelters now.
Chucking them away.
Yeah. They're just, you think of them as toys, really, entertainment.
Yep, entertainment. Exactly right, yeah.
Yeah, drives me mad.
I'm bored.
Yeah, we'll get rid of that now. And actually, I'll mention it while I'm on. Last Wednesday was National Black Cat Day, which is Cats Protection have National Black Cat Day, where they encourage, they'll have lots of events and things to encourage people to adopt black and white cats.
Now, wait a minute.
Always the ones.
No, hang on. There's a reason behind this. Now, I know that you know, but people sitting at home might not know this. Now, I did not know that they had a Black Cat Day. That's a good idea. Now, the reason... Now, you might want to sit down. If you're not aware of why there is a problem with black cats, you're not going to like it. The reason that people don't buy or want or throw away black cats is because they don't show up in selfies. It just looks like a shadow. That's the reason they don't like them, because they can't put them on Instagram. How pathetic is that?
I think that's terrible, but I'm sure it's not just that, actually, because I think it's been a problem for a while. But, yeah, I don't know why people don't like black cats, because actually they're meant to be lucky. If a black cat crosses your path, it's meant to
is
bring
it
you good
lucky
luck.
or is it unlucky? Because I think it's been told to me as both.
Well, I like to think it's lucky.
Right.
But anyway, that wasn't what I rang you up about. I rang you up about sewage bubbling up out of the... bubbling up outside our back door. We only live about half an hour away from Staveley, and we have the same water company, which shall remain nameless, as they do. And yeah, we had trouble. We've had trouble a few times with our drains, and wasn't too bad. I could get the local plumber to fix it. And then one day I just looked out of the back door, and there was literally a sea of sewage outside the back door, bubbling out of the manhole, because it had rained solidly for about 24 hours. So I got one of those drain men sort of companies to come and rod it and everything. And he just said, this is not on your property. You need to ring said company, water company. So I did. And they said, well, we could come in 3 days. I said, no, you can't. No, this can't wait. We can't get out of the back door. And I said, not only that, it's going right down the side of the house and just about to go around under our side gate. And I said, we're both housebound and disabled, and we have carers. And I said, they won't be able to get to the key safe, so then we'll starve and die of thirst. So I said, you have to come out today. So then they did send somebody out, and they said, oh, yes, it's not on your property. And apparently it was because the sewer up on the road above us was blocked. And when you get so much water coming down, because the sewer was it wasn't completely blocked, it was partially blocked, but when there's such a mass of water coming down, it just all goes down to the lowest point, which was us. So they did fix it and everything, but apparently the CEO of our water company earns more money than any CEO of any other water company in the country.
It's probably £2.4 million a year.
Yes, it was a great amount. It was really a great amount of money. And also we have trouble with the water pipes, because not just the sewers, but the water pipes for our water, because the pipes are so old that every now and again they're springing a leak, and then we have our water turned off for hours on end. And that's happened quite a few times since we've lived here. But they don't change the pipes. They just come and fix the holes every now and again. They don't change the whole pipe, even though it's knackered and old.
Of course not, because that would cost money, and they don't want to spend money on... they don't want to fritter it away on infrastructure. They want to pay it to executives and shareholders. Much better.
Exactly. So this is why it should never, ever have been privatised. None of these utilities should be privatised. It's outrageous. It really is.
What kind of stupid country would privatise its own water supply?
Madness. Yeah. Complete madness.
All right. Thanks a lot, Annie. You're going to need a bigger boat.
Yes,
Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Maybe you invest in a lilo. It's just amazing. I mean, who could have predicted that selling our water supplies would be a bad idea? Thanks a lot, Maggie. Maggie Thatcher for you.
No!
Thanks a lot, Maggie. Good work. A lot of people made a lot of money out of that. Something of the order of £57 billion has been doled out.
What?
57 billion. And it's even worse than that because when we sold off our water supplies, Margaret Thatcher cancelled the debt on those companies, thereby gifting private enterprise essentially a massive amount of public money right off the bat before they even started to coin it in. All of the infrastructure work that has been done has been paid for by us. We've paid for that through our bills. The money that they've doled out to themselves was borrowed on the assets that they got from us. They've just leveraged it. They've just piled the debt onto these corporations and awarded that money that they borrowed to themselves as a reward for excellent work in being them. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
I can't believe it. This text says, what's the human race going to do when the sun burns out? Which will happen. I mean, we're all doomed anyway. We might as well enjoy it. Well, yeah, that's a good point, yeah. I mean, what's the point in trying to save this planet? Because in, a couple of 100 million years, it's going to all explode.
Oh, no.
Matthew says, the point Stephen is making is that his point has been very carefully hidden. I've got no idea who Stephen is, but you're probably right in every way, shape and form. Let's have, who's been waiting the longest, to be totally fair about this, Maidenhead, Paul.
Hello?
Paul.
Hi.
Yes, Paul.
Hold on, let me turn the speaker.
Sure, take all the time you need, Paul.
Yeah.
It's a live show. Go ahead.
No, I know I'm live. Thanks for taking the call. It was what you were saying earlier about these stupid devices that everyone's looking at. And I have realised...
phones, right.
Phones. So what I'd like to make a point about is if you can remember the internet when it first started in the early 90s, early 2000s, it was quite good because there was no social media then. Everyone was like sharing things they found out, anything from recipes to geography and
music, sharing their music collection online, stealing it,
all of that.
essentially.
That was the beginning of the end for that. Yeah, that's another story, isn't it? But then 2006, 7, 8, when MySpace and then Facebook started, then it all got nasty and everyone started having a go at each other, and then it just poisoned the internet. And so the reason why that's happened is because then everything becomes subjective. People only look on the threads they want to look at to verify their own beliefs. So it's all subjective. They don't look at anything objectively, so they've got no balance of life. And then when they look up from their screens and see the real world, they think, oh, what's going on here? So they have to go back and look at their screen again to find out what's going on in the real world. Because there's bound to be an app or there's bound to be a Google map to tell them what's going on.
They are essentially evil. The social media companies are essentially evil, in my opinion, because they manufacture their product to be as addictive as possible, with great success. People can't take their faces out of their phones. They just can't do it.
I don't do any of it myself. I unplugged like a bit of a while ago. I mean, emails, and obviously I've got internet on my phone and smartphone and everything, but social media, not at all. But it's just everyone's having a go at each other.
Those smartphones are making us stupid.
Well, it also makes people evil, doesn't it? I mean, you're not going to meet half these people you're arguing with, and you spend your whole life throwing these words in the air that you are... Which don't really make any point into the whole sequence of life.
It's also this sort of feedback loop of these sort of serotonin hits. Every time your phone goes ping or bong, all those noises that it makes, all of that. Every time you're looking and you look away for a moment, and then it goes ping, and then you look back and you look at how many likes your last post had, and all of that serotonin that just keeps squirting around your brain. It's addictive.
So these people actually love it when they hear the bong and the bing. God, when I hear it, I think, oh no.
Oh no, it's that's the it of it. It's people have paid attention to me. Me. I mean, you might be posting messages for other people to read, but it's actually all about me. And it's very, very, it sort of creeps up on you. I admit that I have a problem with Twitter because I spend all morning on it.
A lot of people, I don't know, because I've never been on it, but a lot of people are saying that they've unplugged from that now because it's just too abusive.
Well,
is that true?
It depends. I don't know about abusive, but it's well, it is abusive, but that's up to you whether you join in that game or not.
Yeah, of course.
I don't really, but what I do find is that every morning, pretty much the entire morning goes, and I look up and it's 12 o'clock, and I've done nothing but sit on Twitter all day. So, I kept saying this to people, and then it just sort of hit me like a gong. I actually do have a problem and I should do something about it. I've tried. This last week, maybe the week before, I've tried to restrict myself to 10 minutes. And I was very good for the first couple of days, but then I started to slip again. So I'm going to have to, I'm going to be very strict with myself. Or I'll see myself later, after class. But people should do that. If not unplug completely, then try to wean yourself off it a bit. Set yourself limits. Set yourself limits, Paul. Promise me you'll do it.
Well, I don't do it anyway.
Right. Perfect. That's an excellent start.
I just use YouTube and Google, and I don't get involved even in conversations on YouTube. There's no point. It's nice to read what other people say, though. That really fries my brain, and I wonder about the whole planet in general when I read some of the comments.
Yeah, I am slightly addicted to the messages underneath news stories in the Mail. It does. It alarms me. I'll be honest. All right, thanks a lot, Paul. 0345 6060 973. I do want to talk about this climate change conference because there's a lot of promises being thrown about, and a lot of people who are telling us what to do, and no, you're getting it all wrong. I'll talk about that and plenty else besides. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC. Let me just quickly say that I do a podcast with Karen Mcgiffin.
Yeah.
Now we're going to tape tomorrow. It comes out on Monday, and the idea is that Carol and I get people's problems and we try to solve them for them. It's a big laugh. In that hour, I probably laugh more than at any other point in the week, and I know that she does as well. We do actually look forward to it. If you wish to be amused, it'll be right up your alley. It's called What's Your Problem? With Nick and Carol. And if you want us to have a bash at your problem, then send it to nickandcarol@global.com. nickandcarol @global.com, and ask for the podcast by name on an internet near you. What's Your Problem? With Nick and Carol.
I think he's betraying a quite stupefying ignorance.
Thanks, Bodge. You're the best. Hereford. Andrea.
Hi, Nick.
Andrea.
Hello. Yes, I called my pug, Boris. I got him in lockdown. What? No, and Boris was in hospital, and I thought, well, I wouldn't like him to die. He's having a baby, and.
Oh, we were talking about the pug or the PM?
No, Boris.
Right.
So yeah, he's adorable, and I.
Are we talking about the pug or the PM?
The pug now.
Right. Okay.
The pug is beautiful.
Well, what kind of a dog is it? Is a pug the actual?
He's a pug.
Right. What's that look like?
Chinese-looking gremlin thing.
Well, that's not beautiful. That's horrible.
Well, it is to me.
Pug. Wait a minute. I'm just going to look it up. One moment, please.
Oh
my God.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, not really.
No, but my mother got rid of every dog. You'd come home after school, a year into owning one, and she'd have got rid of it.
Yeah. Why has it got so many creases on its face?
Oh, they're lovely, and you have to clean. You have to get cotton wool and clean in those folds.
Oh, God. Well, that doesn't seem like natural. Why? That seems like something that human beings have bred into it.
He's got a 16th Jack Russell, so he can breathe. Which
yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, those things can't breathe. I mean, because we've all right. Well, it can because it's got a 16th Jack Russell in it. But like pure bred ones, I imagine they have those are the ones that wheeze a lot. You see them going along the pavement; they're just wheezing like that. They can barely breathe because we bred them to have short noses.
I know that is cruel, and obviously if you can crossbreed them. The other thing may I quickly talk about is trains.
Trains?
Yeah, like they're always cancelled, and it's really beginning to annoy me. Always cancelled, and I'd like to know why. When I go to a station, they always say it's cancelled. Yeah. A man's driven into a bridge, or we can't get a driver.
Mm-hmm. People on the line, leaves on the line, snow on the line, wrong sort of rain on the line. That's that sort of thing.
40 years ago, they came. You know, you got on a train and it arrived.
Mm-hmm. Well,
can't think of anything else.
It's probably been cancelled for your convenience, Andrea.
Not really.
not entirely satisfied. All right. Okay, I'll note down your complaint. Oh, and by the way...
Stop whining.
Thanks a lot, Andrea. Tanya says we should have a refund on our water bill as they charge us sewage rates. Good point, Tanya. Leslie tweets, Prince Charles was always saying we only have a certain amount of time to address the climate change and his deadlines come and go with no consequences to the world. Well, Chaz has been speaking about this very issue. Have you heard? Oh, I haven't got time to get it in before the news, but I'll take a call and I'll talk about that whole mess in a moment. Regent's Park, Vance.
Hi, Nick.
Vance.
Good evening. Nick, I'm really worried about the people who have been excluded from COP26.
Who?
Thousands of activists and environmental charities have not been allowed to attend, and the commonest reason they give is hostility from the Home Office towards those travelling from the global south, particularly Africa, with many visas already refused. And this has led to the accusation that this COP will be the whitest and most privileged ever.
Yeah.
In fact, Rachel Osgood of the COP26 coalition said thousands of people from the global south representing tens of millions on the front line of the crisis have been excluded. And this, Nick, is really, really serious.
It's a cop out. Those are the people that are going to suffer the most because of our rush for immediate gratification.
That's right, indeed. And it's members of these charities, volunteers, workers, and so forth, who are really on the front line and who see the damage that's being done and are trying to work against it. And if I may just take this for 90 more seconds. I saw this in the 1980s when AIDS erupted. I attended a WH conference on AIDS in Paris in 1988 on behalf of a charity that I'd set up in Malaysia. And President Mitterrand hosted it, but his wife insisted on inviting as many AIDS charities as possible. And as a result, we were able to tell the world how we, not governments, were educating people in their communities on the prevention of the spread of HIV. It was we who brought the most practical ideas to that conference. And in fact, soon after I returned to Kuala Lumpur, our charity received a $40,000 check from WHO, thanking us for our input and urging us to keep up the good work. That's not going to happen from COP26. They're all governmental delegates. There are going to be virtually no charities there, especially from the global south. It's scandalous. It's a scandal, Nick.
Yeah, well, Boris Johnson insists that we are leading the world to help poorer countries to adapt to the climate emergency. He's promised more than £11 billion to help poorer countries. Unfortunately, that's not £11 billion of new money. That's £11 billion he's taken from the money that would have gone to those poorer countries anyway. But he's just it allows him to make an announcement that we've got all this new money, but it's not new money. He's taken it from their left hand and putting it in their right hand.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, I'm speechless.
All right, thanks a lot, Vance. I hope that your speech returns at some point in the future. This story, failure to provide fresh funding leaves the Prime Minister's claim to be leading the world on the environment in tatters. It also breaks a United Nations brokered agreement that the cash must be new and additional, with one person likening it to a bailiff leaving a bunch of flowers. Yet they take your house, but here's a bunch of flowers as compensation. The World Health Organization has already warned that hundreds of thousands of people will die of tropical diseases because of these cuts. But they'll die somewhere else. So who cares? I think is the attitude. And what the government does is when they're questioned about this sort of stuff, and you see it so many times, ministers go out and they say, oh, well, there's going to be 80% more of this and £4.3 billion more of that. And then the interviewer, if at all, which is very unlikely, they'll say, well, actually, that's not true. The look of stunned amazement on the faces of the minister in question, whoever's been wheeled out to go around the shows that day, it just does not compute. Because they haven't learned a response to that. They've just learned a series of figures. I mean, boy, did they love for coming out with numbers. And so what they do is they just go back to the beginning and start spouting out the same numbers again that they have just been told are false. No, Minister, you are lying about that. Liar! And their answer is to just repeat the lies, because that's what they've learned before they go on those shows. You see it so many times. I bet you, that tomorrow there'll be one minister, whoever it might be, and that's exactly what will happen. Usually the interviewers will let them get away with it because it's like the Donald Trump method. Just hose people down with misinformation, to give them so many lies that they just become subsumed with it. It's like a tidal wave of mendacity, and they can't refute it because you can't check somebody in real time. You go away later and look it up and say, oh, yeah, that was not right. In fact, everything that person told me was a lie. But you can't refute it in real time because you haven't got a team of people looking their stuff up. But in the very seldom occasions when they do say, hang on a minute, no, that's not right, what they do is they just repeat the lie again, but louder. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
0345 6060 973. Just past 11:30, the news headlines on LBC with Zora Sullivan.
Don't touch me, or I'll kill you.
That seems unreasonable. So that tweet that I just read, Leslie said that Prince Charles was always saying that we only have a certain amount of time to address climate change, and his deadlines come and go with no consequences to the world. Are you kidding me, Leslie? Look out the window. No consequences to the world. Well, anyway, his royal fabulousness is going to Rome to warn leaders at the G20 summit that the time for talking about climate crisis is over and action is needed now. And he's going to get there by driving his Aston Martin to the helicopter and then take the helicopter to the jet. And then in Rome, he'll take the helicopter from the jet and then go the rest of the way in a chauffeured limousine, with 86 of his liveried retinue accompanying him at all times, bearing aloft the royal cushion for his magisterial bottom. Just a skeleton staff. Immediate action is now crucial, he's going to say, including he's going to say this to the participants, including but not limited to President Joe Biden, and via video link, President Vlad the Insaner out of Russia, and President Xi Jinping of China, who presumably will both have him on mute and will be watching relaxing videos of puppies being strangled on another screen. Never before has a member of any royal family been invited to speak to world leaders on such a prominent stage, and the invitation is being seen as a great honour because the royal family have dedicated their lives to being sustainable. He's going to say, we must now translate fine words into still finer action. His words echo those of his mother, who 2 weeks ago criticised world leaders' inaction on addressing the climate change crisis. The Queen was overheard saying, I've been hearing all about COP. I still don't know who's coming. No idea. It's really irritating when they talk, but they don't do. The Mail understands that both Charles and the Duke of Cambridge want to, quote, do the Queen proud and lead from the front in Glasgow next week. OK, quick question. Which one's the Duke of Cambridge? It's not you-know-who, is it? No! Not him, surely. We don't wish to hear from him again.
Correct.
Is it Wills, out of Wills and What's-It? The Duke of Cambridge? It can't be Hazza, out of Hazza and Sparkles, because she's still the Wicked Witch of the West. Cruella de Marco stole our precious. So the royal family are going to be rolling out the big guns, apparently. Prince Charles, I know who he is, the Duchess of Cornwall and the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge attending. OK, which one's the Duchess of Cornwall? Is she one of the ones with the satellite dishes strapped to their heads at the wedding? I mean, there's so many of them. They've all got so many names and titles. It's hard for even a committed royalist such as myself to keep up.
Yeah.
And informed royal sources said that their shared determination to tackle the climate crisis has brought father and son closer than ever. Oh, please. They said their passion for environmental issues has given them a new shared sense of purpose, a royal source revealed. Do me a favour, they've got to be the most wasteful family on Earth. If we all lived like they do, we'd need another planet. We'd need another solar system. What are they talking about? So this was it, caught on microphone while attending the opening of the Welsh Parliament in Cardiff. The Queen said, "Extraordinary, isn't it? I've been hearing all about COP. I still don't know who's coming. No idea. We only know about the people who are not coming. It's really irritating when they talk but they don't do." Huh. This is the family who claim to be environmentally friendly. I mean, we are told that initiatives at Buckingham Palace and other royal residences include monitoring energy consumptions through a network of smart meters, installing energy-efficient LED lighting where possible, and using combined heat and power plants and boilers to convert natural gas into electricity. Very environmentally friendly. No, the royal family has about the same carbon footprint as an active volcano. There can't be another family on Earth that lives as extravagantly as they do. I mean, they actually had their places taken out of the eco-green law in Scotland. The Queen's lawyers secretly lobbied Scottish ministers to change a draft law to exempt her private land from a major initiative to cut carbon emissions. The exemption means that the Queen, one of the largest landowners in Scotland, is the only person in the country not required to facilitate the construction of pipelines to heat buildings using renewable energy. Her lawyers secured the dispensation from Scotland's government 5 months ago by exploiting an obscure parliamentary procedure known as the Queen's Consent, which gives the monarch advanced sight of legislation and the ability to change what she doesn't like. Truly, we have taken back control from unelected leaders. And the idea that the Queen and the royal family are eco-friendly is just preposterous. Even if you ignore them changing the law so that they don't have to comply with cutting carbon emissions. Here is a brief list of the Queen's residences. These are the ones supposedly owned by us. But that doesn't count for much when it's us that have to pay for them, but we're not allowed to use them. Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, the Palace of Holyrood House, Hillsborough Castle, Sandringham House, Balmoral Castle, Craigowen Lodge. I mean, that's just for the Queen. One person lives in 2 palaces, 3 castles, 2 houses and a lodge. And the lodge looks like a castle and the houses look like palaces. Then, for her immediate family, there's a place I can't pronounce called, I'll give it a go, Llanwermod. Plus Clarence House, Highgrove House, Tamarisk House, Burke Hall, Kensington Palace, Anmer Hall, Frogmore Cottage, St James Palace, Gatcombe Park, the Royal Lodge, Ivy Cottage, Bagshot Park, Barnwell Manor, Wren House, Thatched House Lodge, and vast tracts of lands and outbuildings that go with them. There can't be another family on Earth that's as wasteful as the royal family. Each and every one of those places gets dusted, heated and secured to their precise specifications. But they get a pass because apparently the Queen once turned off a light when she left a ballroom. But it's probably against the law to say that. And I apologise.
I am very sorry that I screwed up. Totally I mean, I am so sorry. You just don't know how sorry I am. I'm sorry.
John emails, bad news. Everything's going up. Prices are going up. Taxes are going up. Inflation is going up. Interest rates are going up. So next year, most people are going to be a lot worse off. and things are likely to get even worse the year after. So what's the answer? Well, unfortunately, there isn't one. That's great. Leading us down that path, and there was nothing there. He says it's time to batten down the hatches and prepare for the worst. This ship's going down. Yeah, no doubt. I definitely thought there was going to be a solution at the end of that. Oh, well, never mind. We get nothing. Shirley says, Bodger keeps insisting that he is levelling up the UK. With all the brown leakage we are having from our sewers, I think he's levelling us down to a third world country. Yeah, levelling us back in time to the Dark Ages. I don't remember bubbling sewage coming up from the drains in the 1970s. I'm not suggesting the 1970s was the Dark Ages, but the 1950s certainly were. Was bubbling sewage coming up out of the drains in the 1950s? Doubtful. Simon says, being that you are a highly paid celeb and a big Bowie fan, can I assume that you'll be stumping up the $200 million to buy his songwriting catalogue? Yeah, I thought that he'd sold it already. I thought that David Bowie actually cashed in on that while he was still alive. Maybe it's being sold again. I thought he made something like $40 million, which doesn't seem remotely enough to me. The only problem with selling off a catalogue like that is that people who buy it will want to maximise their investment. They will maximise the earnings on their payout. So it's possible that a lot of those songs are going to be showing up on adverts.
Oh, no.
And then we'll be associating classic rock and roll with, sweets and hemorrhoid cream and all that stuff, which is not what we want. Not what we want. John says, the planet's our home. We are wrecking our home. Yeah, that's about right. We don't care about anything as long as it's cheap and we can have it right now. Not remotely interested in giving up short-term pleasure for long-term gain. Short-termism. It's what will do for mankind. Roger Tex, why is organic food dearer? Could it be the need for certification? No, it's that, surely. Organic food is dearer. If you're talking about animals, it's because they get more space and are subject to less chemicals. And the vegetables and fruit and so on is the chemicals part. And I don't know. It's if you want to eat a happy animal, eat one that's organic, or drink milk that comes from an organic animal. But people don't, because we're not ethical consumers. We like to think that we are. We like to think that we care about the welfare of animals, but we don't. We just care what's cheap. That's all. That's all we're interested in. Cheap, cheap, cheap. Immediate gratification, like a baby. The human race has the developmental age of a toddler. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Hello, boys.
0345 6060 973. Mark texts, water, water, water. Sorry to bang on about this, but nobody bloomin' listens. Maybe I will. Water is power. A national water network would alleviate flooding and give energy. Such a simple solution and probably less than HS2. Well, anything's less than HS2. I don't really know what you mean by that. Water is power. A national water network would alleviate flooding and give energy. Okay. I listened, but I didn't understand. Never mind. Darryl says, tomorrow is Halloween, so beware the witching hour, because whether you prefer Greenwich Mean Time or British Summertime, midnight will always catch up with you at the end of the day. A listener with material.
Oh, no.
And Susan says, what do you think of the idea of processed foods being bad for us, and yet now we're looking at lab-made meat? Surely both are processed and bad for our health. Isn't the processed meat thing about nitrites? Is it nitrites? Nasty nitrites, I believe. I may have that wrong, but even if I have it wrong, it doesn't prevent it from being a fact. Hackney, Laurent.
Yeah, hi there.
Is it Laurent or Laurent?
Laurent.
Ah, you roll your R's.
Hi, Nick.
Yeah.
There was a caller inquiring about the link between climate change and meat eating, and I thought it hadn't been answered entirely yet, so I just would like to add a couple of points. So,
okay, lay it on us, baby.
The burping that ruminants, so cows and sheep, that they have to do when they digest grass, sets free methane, and also the manure sets free methane. So that's a potent greenhouse gas.
This
I'm sure
show,
most listeners know
what with the
these
bubbling sewage, and now you're talking about manure. This whole show is in the toilet.
Yeah, sorry. Another thing that's easy to grasp for the caller from earlier is that the food, if cows don't eat grass, they are fed corn or soybeans, and they often are grown in Brazil or other countries where
exactly they cut down forests. They cut down forests in order to grow monocultures of soybeans in order to feed cows elsewhere. The whole world's gone insane.
That's it. I thought I had those points. I have a feeling that it kind of is linked. I mean, the relationship of us humans with the natural world is causing all sorts of problems, not just the ones that we just discussed, but furthers the chances of diseases jumping from animals to humans. So you can kind of argue that COVID falls under the same remit of our relationship of looting the natural world.
Yeah, we are living in close proximity to a lot of animals that we shouldn't have any contact with negative effects to the human race, as in mass death.
Exactly. I just wanted to add these points to bring clarity to the caller from earlier.
We are living a life out of balance, and it doesn't seem to be getting any... Yeah, bingo! Yeah, Koyaanisqatsi. Can you spell it? That's a big no, isn't it? All right, better luck next time. Thanks a lot, Laurent. From memory, Koyaanisqatsi.
Correct.
Better got that right. My favourite film. A Life Out of Balance, Koyaanisqatsi. You can watch it later and thank me then. No, wait. I've changed my mind. You can watch it later and thank me now.
Thank you.
JTE tweets, Black Cats rule. Superstition ain't the way. I believe that Stevie Wonder would disagree with you on that point. Superstition is the way.
Rock and roll!
Jeff tweets, hey Nick, why don't they give cows milk to drink and they will be self-sufficient? But see, the cows wouldn't be able to reach their own teats.
Disgusting.
Would they? We could breed them with longer necks, maybe. Excellent idea, Jeff. Leave that with me. I'll do some drawings, pop them in the post. Self-sufficient. That's a good idea. CC tweets, I've had 3 cats, 2 black and 1 ginger. The black cats were lovely. The ginger was a nightmare. Black cats every time for temperament. Yeah, we had black cats when I was growing up. But it didn't occur to me that in the future, people would not want a black cat because it wouldn't show up in selfies. How superficial. I mean, that really is a snapshot of the human race right there. That's a selfie of the human race. I think that we've made a big mistake somewhere along the line. We're walking down the wrong path here when we throw away animals just because they don't show up in photographs of ourselves. It just looks like a shadow. Get your faces out of your phones, people. I mean it. Particularly at the gym. There should be a law at the gym that you can't stare at your phones. Every time I go there, every piece of equipment has been taken by some stupid moron gawping at their phones. But you can't tell them.
Warning, warning.
Because they go berserk. Barbara emails, Nick, please try to find out when Ginger Cat Day is. Kooky is laying here with me in bed listening to your show and has asked me to email you. Kooky is the cat, presumably. Hey, Kooky! Surely in these times of equality, ginger cats should just have their day as well. I completely concur, Barbara. It sounds borderline racist to me. Marielle texts, the reason people don't choose black cats is because they follow superstition about black cats being a witch's, quotes, familiar. I had a black cat, and the people at Cats Protect... What was that? Somebody talking to me in my headphones from another part of the building, which I take a very dim view of. Interfering with me while I'm doing this super show. Anyway, the reason that people don't choose black cats is because they follow a superstition about black cats being a witch's familiar. I had a black cat, and the people at Cats Protection were thrilled that we chose him. Yeah, have a pet for the pleasure of having a pet, not have a pet for the pleasure of taking a photograph of it with you and posting it on the internet for likes. I think I'm about just borderline done with the human race. Bev says, hi Nick, always joy Annie in Carnforth's contributions, but when I have been looking to home a rescue dog since April when my Labrador passed, all sites seem to say they are unusually short of dogs, so where are they all hiding? What's that got to do with Annie and Carnforth? I think there's two different thoughts squeezed together in the same sentence. You haven't been able to find a rescue dog since April. I find that surprising, because I thought people were chucking away dogs that they'd bought for an amusement while they were in lockdown. Yeah, because I'm just so bored. So they went and got a dog, or a cat, or a llama, or whatever else it is that people wanted to take a blooming photograph of and stick on Instagram. And now they're going back to the office. They don't want them anymore, so they just chuck them away. That's an indication of how we view animals in this country. They're either for our personal amusement.
And remember, darling, I don't work before 10 in the morning and never after 4:30 in the afternoon.
It might sound unreasonable, but those are the rules. 0345 6060 973. Well, I think that's a bit rich of Bodger saying that the reason for political inaction on climate is apathy, political indifference and a lack of will. Well, I believe that he is guilty, guilty and guilty in that order. You know, I don't think there's another country on earth that that funds the oil companies as much as we do. I'll get to that in a minute. Should I start with the Conservative Party's promises and their failure to deliver on them? I mean, there's just so many. I mean, which promise have they made since Bodger came to power that they have actually delivered on? £350 million a week extra for the NHS? Not really. £800 million a week less after leaving. Not £350 million a week more. So that's not true. Liar! And it just goes on and on and on. Friends of the Earth say, as hosts of the UN climate talks in Glasgow, Prime Minister Boris Johnson and the UK government will be asking world leaders to address climate crisis by transitioning away from climate-wrecking fossil fuels, committing to strong net zero emissions targets, and providing funding for transition to renewables, especially for poorer countries. But how can we expect other nations to listen to our government when it's not taking climate action itself? They say instead of ending the funding and extraction of fossil fuels, the UK government is allowing the development of a new coal mine in Cumbria, an oil extraction in Surrey and the North Sea. What's more, it is funding fossil fuel projects abroad, providing $1 billion worth for a gas mega project in Mozambique. Don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. Sky News reports Boris Johnson's government has reneged on key promises it made in the efforts to combat climate change, according to one of the most senior Conservative environmentalists. The Tory chair of the Climate Change Committee, which advises the government on tackling global warming, has condemned the decision by ministers to give in to Australian demands to water down environmental protections in the UK-Australia trade deal. Just the very idea that we're skipping trading with Europe, you could spit that far. You can actually see them from here. To concentrating on negotiating trade deals with countries that are the furthest away that you could possibly get on this planet. It's insane. Liz Truss, the International Trade Secretary, and Business Secretary Kwasi Kwarteng decided that the government could drop both of the climate asks from the text of the trade deal with Australia. Among areas to be removed was a reference to the Paris Agreement temperature goals. Government sources confirmed that the references to temperature are now implicit rather than spelt out in the text. In other words, they've ignored them. It's different from the UK-EU trade deal, where temperature commitments are explicitly in the deal. But when we did a deal with Australia, one of the worst polluters on Earth, I think they've got the biggest coal reserves in the world, then their insistence was that we drop our insistence on any sort of green part of that deal. And as we hold none of the cards, we can't even bully Australia into doing what we want, never mind about the European Union. The Independent reports that Boris Johnson's promise of more than $11 billion to help poorer countries adapt to the climate emergency will be paid for by even deeper cuts to the UK's other overseas aid projects. Failure to provide fresh funding leaves the Prime Minister's claim to be leading the world on the environment in tatters. The World Health Organization has already warned that hundreds of thousands of people will die of tropical diseases because of these cuts. But, never mind. We can't see them, so who cares, right? The Telegraph reports Greta Thunberg has accused Britain of lying about its climate credentials in a series of scathing comments. She said, "Liar!" At a UNICEF press briefing, she said this country is guilty of creative carbon accounting and suggested it's a lie that the UK is a climate leader. It's only 3 years since she launched that Fridays for Future campaign, which she was striking at school. It seems much, much longer than that, doesn't it? The effect that she has had. This tiny schoolgirl. 3 years. That's all. Amazing. In that intervening period, millions of young people have protested against the lack of action to protect the environment. And she said that global leaders still treat the climate crisis as a faraway, distant problem. She said it feels like that in this country we're trying to create loopholes instead of actually trying to find solutions that would actually turn things around. There's a lie that the UK is a climate leader and that they have reduced their CO2 emissions by 44% since 1990, she said. If you include things like aviation, shipping, outsourcing and consumption, for instance, and the burning of biomass, it doesn't really look that good. In other words, we're lying about it. Loopholes, always looking for loopholes. We've outsourced our pollution to China and other countries that will take it on. The World Wildlife Fund says the cost of renewables has fallen faster than anyone could have predicted, and yet the government are still backing dirty fossil fuels. Did you know that the UK has the biggest fossil fuel subsidies in the EU? We spend 12 billion euros a year supporting dirty fossil fuels. We do. 12 billion a year. Global warming is causing the Earth's average surface temperature to increase. This is not only making heat waves and droughts more likely, but is also causing changes to our natural climate systems. These changes are making extreme weather events more likely. Well, just look out the window. Does it look like an extreme weather event?
Yes.
Always. doesn't rain anymore. It's a deluge. They said, for example, hurricanes and storms are becoming more intense, moving slower and taking longer to die down. And because of where we are, you want the bad news? Because of where we are, the UK and Ireland are more likely to get more rain and wind as a result of climate change. Ain't going to get warmer, it's going to get worse. In fact, if that gyre, that meridional thing, whatever you call it, that current that brings up warm water from the south and keeps our climate relatively pleasant, if that stops, which it could do at any time, it could just stop. It has stopped in the past. For something like 12,000 years it stopped. If it stops, then we could be as cold as Siberia, because that's where we are. I mean, if you look at the latitude, other places on the map that are as high up as we are, we don't really have any business being as clement and pleasant as we are currently enjoying it. We could be up to our eyeballs in snow. Then we'll be disappointed. The Guardian reports Shell and BP, which together produce more than 1.7 billion tonnes of greenhouse gases a year, have not paid any corporation tax on oil and gas production in the North Sea for the last 3 years. The oil giants, which have an annual global footprint of greenhouse gases more than 5 times bigger than Britain's, are benefiting from billions of pounds of tax breaks and relief for oil and gas production. Shell and BP paid no corporation tax or production levies on North Sea oil operations between 2018 and 2020, and claimed tax reliefs of nearly £400 million, according to annual payments to governments reports analysed by The Observer. Over the same 3-year period, they paid shareholders more than £44 billion in dividends. Wow. Huh. A petroleum revenue tax of 35% was effectively scrapped by George Osborne. That's him. That was in 2016, and oil giants can claim billions of pounds in taxpayer handouts for decommissioning rigs. They make the profits, we clean up after them. The North Sea is now one of the most profitable areas in the world for oil and gas production because of tax cuts by the government to encourage production. Philip Evans, oil and gas campaigner for Greenpeace UK, says it's outrageous that as the UK prepares to host a global climate talks in Glasgow, we still have one of the lowest effective tax rates in the world for oil extraction. We're giving tax breaks worth billions of pounds to companies that have been fueling the climate emergency for decades. The UK has some of the lowest oil tax rates in the world. And an analysis by research company Rystad Energy in January found the UK is now the most profitable country on earth for the development of oil and gas mega projects. Well, ain't that great? So just keep that in mind when Boris Johnson tells you how green his government is. 0345 6060 973. Nick Abbot, LBC.
You've got a good, your mind is a little bit, three-dimensional.
Thanks, I think. Philippa texts, I love my black cat Peggy Sue, and 5 other members of my family all have black cats, so I believe rightly that they deserve love and respect as all animals do. Correctamundo. I love you, girls. I love you, Pegasus. Fred texts, we're lucky enough to own a black cat. Not so lucky for the local pigeons, though. No. If only you could breed that out of them. I mean, they're not in want of food, are they? They're just like hunting things. They get through hundreds of millions of birds in this country every year. I think that's probably correct. Hundreds of millions of birds is a bad cat. Michael texts, Nick, cowboys mix rainwater pipes with toilet and kitchen pipes. They should make that criminal. Okay. I don't really know what that means. Not being an expert on drains and all. But I take that point. My advice is don't employ a cowboy to mess with your pipes. Employ a plumber. Better. Henley-on-Thames. Chris.
Hello.
Yes, Chris.
What I was going to say is that thanks to global warming, the value of insulation is going down, and we don't need insulation so much now.
Don't we?
No, because the temperature is going up.
Is it?
Of course it is, because of global warming.
I'm not sure I've noticed the temperature going up round these parts.
No, it's definitely going up.
I'm not sure that's true.
I don't think we need insulation as much as we did.
We don't need insulation as much as we did. Well, that certainly is a relief.
So that's one thing. The other thing I was going to just talk about briefly is electric vehicles.
And are you also an expert on electric vehicles?
Well, let me just tell you the story. I've been driving electric vehicles since 2005.
Right.
And I want to tell everybody that I finally made the transition from electric vehicles back to diesel.
Why did you do that?
Because of the lack of stress.
Lack of stress?
Exactly. So the big problem with electric vehicles is that they basically fail.
Range anxiety.
There's more than anxiety. They really do break down.
Well, cars break down all the time.
No, I know they break down, but electric vehicles break down more than petrol diesel cars.
Now, what breaks on an electric car because it ain't got no moving parts?
It's got a motor.
Yeah.
The motor has let me down several times.
Motor?
Yep, the electric motor.
On an electric vehicle?
Correct.
A motor?
Yep.
What kind of a motor is on an electric vehicle?
Well, on a motor, you've got an induction motor. You've literally got an electric motor that drives you along.
Okay.
So I've had that fail several times, probably 3 times, and the batteries have let me down on the M4 at least twice. Total failure. So basically, what the situation is, you're driving along the motorway, and as you know now, the M4, there's no hard shoulder.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a very good idea to me. But
so what do? You're going along. All of a sudden, you realise that your accelerator pedal is doing nothing for you.
Yeah.
And you're then stuck. What do? Your blood pressure is going up very rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
Your heart is beating faster and faster. You realise that you're going to end up stuck.
Yeah.
And I basically just managed to crawl off at Slough, and amazingly, I got to a hotel. There's basically there's 2 hotels opposite each other. When I phoned up the AA, they said to me, "Which hotel are you opposite, the Copthorne or the Ice?" Like this is a regular place to break down.
That doesn't sound very likely, though. I mean, a regular place to break down. Was it like the Bermuda Triangle in Slough?
I'm telling you, you can just about make it to that hotel.
Right.
If you're going to break down on the M4. So actually, there were a lot of oil stains on the road from other vehicles that had broke down previously.
Well, it sounds like you're going backwards. You're not actually helping humanity. You're going in reverse, Chris.
The message I'm telling you really is that I'm not at all happy about the reliability of electric vehicles. They are. It's a relief to go back to diesel.
Right. Okay.
It's a sorry story, but it's true. The diesel is a big relief to me. There's no range anxiety.
Yeah.
And how many miles can you do on a tank of diesel?
6.
Incorrect. 1,000.
1,000.
You can do 1,000 miles on a tank of diesel.
Yeah, I very much doubt that. If you're being pulled by another car, you could do 1,000 miles, but you can't do 1,000 miles on a full tank of diesel.
No, hang on a second. I recently did a trip from Rickmansworth up to Little Birmingham, then across to Manchester and back to Rickmansworth, which is like a giant triangle.
Right, not 1,000. Not 1,000 miles though.
That's no, it's 600 miles, and that was half a tank of fuel.
Chris, you can't do 1,000 miles on a tank of fuel. I don't care what you're driving. You can't.
So what can you do on a tank of fuel?
I don't know. It depends on what kind of car it is and how you drive it. You can't do 1,000 miles on a tank of fuel. You just can't. But anyway, thanks for not caring about the environment. Cheers, Chris. Dave texts, I went to my local lake today for some open water swimming. I couldn't seem to concentrate or put much effort in, though. In fact, I just went through the motions. A listener with material.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. He just went through the motions. Honestly, when people come here and they see the mess that this country is in, we've got bubbling sewage coming out of our drains. Everything else is underwater. People's sofas are floating out their doors. We have got some of the biggest subsidies for fossil fuel corporations in the world. Why would they pay the slightest attention to anything that we say? I mean, they should just laugh Bodge off the stage.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
I think they laughed him onto the stage. That was the headline in I think the Mail was world leaders laugh at Boris Johnson as he arrives late. Not with him, at him. Dave texts, Nick, an environmentalist said that a pet dog has the same carbon footprint as the average car. Try getting dogs and cats to eat vegetables. No. A cruel and unusual punishment. Dogs and cats don't eat vegetables. I mean, cats eat grass every now and again.
Want to score some pot?
But I think it's to make them chuck up, isn't it? It would have that effect on me. Let's have a call in Manchester. Hello, Martin.
Hello. Your last caller about electric cars and diesels. I exchanged my diesel to an electric car in August, and my electric car's broken down 9 times.
Wow.
I'm absolutely up to here with it now. I'm going to be changing back to diesel. It's just not up to scratch.
Well, now,
I've had battery problems, I've had motor problems, I've had electric problems. It's just been an absolute joke.
Well, that is not everybody's experience of electric cars.
Well, it's my experience. I'm going back to diesel.
Well, you maybe bought a lemon.
Well, I certainly have.
Yeah, I think that it seems like an intermediate technology to me. I mean, I don't know anything about this subject or any other subject for that matter, but it does seem to be like an intermediate technology. I mean, batteries. Is that really where we're going? Batteries? I mean, how many batteries have you got to put in one of those cars, and how long do they last? You've got to swap them out after for a certain amount of time, and the chemicals and the manufacturing process that goes into a battery car. I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be an end product to me. It's like something to get to where we're going. I think that people will look back and think, battery cars. Can you imagine that people used to use those? And now, of course, we float around on cars powered by magic. Why didn't people just go straight to magic, they'll think. Jane tweets, how did it happen that today I had to have a go at my 90-year-old mother for spending her whole visit to me on her phone? She was showing me photos on Facebook of folk I neither know nor care about. 5 years ago, that was her shouting at my 28-year-old son. Yeah, I was in a pizza restaurant just the other day, and it was obviously a dad and his son. And, much to my surprise, it was the dad that spent the entire time on his phone, while his son was just sitting there, it was just amusing himself, just lost in his own thoughts because his dad wasn't interacting with him in any way, shape, or form. He just flipped through his phone for at least an hour. How blooming rude is that? If that dad should have a damn good thrashing. I was going to take a call, but there's not quite enough time to do it before the new news, so I'll do it afterwards. Matt emails, are we missing something? Wouldn't the Russian and Chinese have turned up if COP was in Cannes in May rather than Glasgow in November? Bound to be raining. Bound to be. Andrew, but they're not going to be outside. They'll barely see outside. They're going to be in their little security cauldron. Cauldron? Not a cauldron. That's what you cook people in. No, a cordon. Cordon. They're security cordons. Andrew texts, Dear Nick, black cats bring you luck as long as they cross your path from right to left. If they cross from left to right, look out, there's bad luck about. I didn't know that. Educational, this show, isn't it?
No.
Not really. Every now and again, a stray fact emerges as though by accident, but I'm not sure that was one of them. Liam texts, one thing you've missed that ministers always say when questioned, they say, the government are working really hard on, and then they add the subject. So it could be something like lack of PPE, and the minister says, the government are working really hard on PPE. For some reason it works. Well, it's just so annoying that what they do is they go on a show and then they just fill up airtime. They just make a noise, and basically, because they know that there's only a certain amount of time that has been allocated to their appearance, and so they just basically fill the air with noise. And if the interviewer tries to interrupt them and say, no, what you've just said is not true, they will repeat what they just said. They repeat the lie that they've just said louder. And if they can't quite fill up the noise, then they will just they'll just make a noise. They don't even have to say any words, just as long as you fill the air and stop the interviewer asking you another question. Painful. It really is. Mendacity. Liar! Exactly. 0345 6060 973. Matt emails, do you think it will be good cop or bad cop? Oh. Will you people stop pouring your material all over me? 0345 6060 973. It's 12:30 on LBC, the news headlines with Zora Sullivan.
And I can't stand him.
Lucas texts, what are you going to do with your extra hour tonight? I bet you have exciting plans. You bet I do. I'm going to be using the extra hour to complain about the clocks going back. Jill says, the RSPCA say black cats are the hardest to home. I love my black panther, Vinnie Vera. Presumably not an actual panther. I think that's just so dispiriting that the reason people don't want black cats is because they don't show up in photographs. I mean, how superficial is that? I think that's a pretty solid indication that the human race is doomed. Michael says, I think the main problem with black cats is they're mostly likely to get hit by a car in the dark because you can't see them. I don't think that's got the slightest difference. Peter says, what do cows eat? Grass? How is that any different from vegans? It's the vegans that are increasing that will cause all the gases. Or am I wrong? Interesting thought there, Peter. Wapping. Hello, Paul.
Oh, good evening. Yeah, I mean, you was talking about vehicles, like modern vehicles, hybrid, electric, well, all vehicles today have computer modules, like computer chips in them, controlling everything. The trouble is, when these things go wrong, which they do, you either can't get in your motor, or the motor won't start.
Right.
And they cost, like, you can't just take it to the local garage under the arches. It has to go back and be hooked up to a computer, be recalibrated.
Yes, you have to get a genius to do it.
It costs thousands. Years ago, you saw blokes on a Saturday and a Sunday underneath, buy a couple of parts from the local spares shop.
Exactly.
And jack it up, and underneath you can't do that today.
My car from 1998, you could fix with, it doesn't matter what goes wrong on it, and it almost never goes wrong. But if it does, you could fix it with a hammer.
Well, yeah. Or it'll fix you by falling on you. So, but the thing is, today everything is so
complicated.
It's lovely. We've got eating seats and everything.
We've got blue teeth. No end of things.
thing is, television's in the on the headrest so that people in the back can watch it, But when these things go wrong, they're going to cost you thousands to put right.
Exactly.
And the thing is, I mean, I gave my motor up because, well, the fact is I was backing into my parking space and the clutch master cylinder gave out and it's going to cost between £400 and £600 to put right. So, it went. So the thing is, and also I refused to pay the mayor's. It was an old motor, but I refused to pay Mayor Khan's £12.50. So, but mind you, I'm in my mid-60s. I don't need to drive no more. I don't want to drive no. It's not a pleasurable experience no more.
Oh, come off it!
It's not a pleasurable experience.
Well, how'd you take stuff back from the shops then?
Well, I either walk there or get on a bus because I've got me over 60s pass.
Right, I see. So you get a freebie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that a long time ago there was this guy Nikola Tesla, and he was like, I mean, at the turn of the last century, he was talking about, what they call wireless energy. Wireless electricity.
Right.
And but the only thing was that his rival, who, they saw, his concept of free energy, there's no money, they needed to have money. So his was pushed aside because he invented a car that could run by electricity. It had a pickup in it. It run by electricity from the ether.
I saw a picture of the cabs in New York. This is in the Design Museum. Pretty sure it's in the Design Museum. There's a photograph of cabs in New York in, I think, 1900. Or it might have been 1890 something. Apparently, at that point, every cab in New York was electric. Can you believe that?
Yeah. But I'm saying Nikola Tesla was even a greater genius than Einstein.
Well, let's not get carried away.
And there's I'll give you a thing about where we are as a technological species. Look it up on Google.
I certainly will do nothing of the sort. What is it?
It's called the Kardashev scale. There was a Russian astrophysicist called Nikolai Kardashev, and he put into categories the technological prowess of a civilization in 1, 2, and 3 scales. And you know where we rate at this present time?
Poorly.
on a scale of 0.
0.
Yeah. Have a look at it. It's called the Kardashev scale.
Right. Is this
homework?
I don't do homework, but sir, it's the weekend.
It might surprise you,
right? Because
we don't even come 0.50 on the scale of becoming a Type 1 civilization.
Well, I find that most disappointing and dispiriting and not at all surprising. Thanks a lot for the bad news, Paul. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, that is actually a real-life fact that for about 100 years now, they've had electric vehicles. Every cab in New York was electric at that time. You'd think they'd have perfected it by now. I mean, we pretty much have just about perfected the internal combustion engine. That's the reason that probably those cars are more reliable than our brand new electric cars these days. It's because they're very, very new. I'm surprised that they do break down with such a frequency. I did ask some bloke who came out to start my old car because the battery had gone dead, if he often gets called out to see electric cars, thinking that he was going to say, no, well, there's nothing to brake on them. But apparently he does get called out, and there are things that brake on them. Eventually we'll figure it out. I'm just not sure I can wait that long. Richard emails, many people in the UK see animals as status symbols and or fashion accessories. Yes, that's correct. They get them for their own glory rather than the pleasure of actually interacting with the animal. I just still can't get over that. That people get a black cat, they take a picture of it, put it on the internet, and people will say, "What black cat? I can't see a black cat, just looks like a shadow." And they think, "Oh, okay, well, I'll get rid of it and get one that you can see," because that's the most important thing. Getting likes. The whole human race is doomed. This says this royal family are a load of hypocrites. How dare they pretend that they care about the planet when they live in such opulence? Put your money where your mouth is, Your Majesty. Give up your homes to house the thousands of homeless people in this country. Well, let's not get carried away. They might fondle their knickknacks. Think of that. Let's have a call in Walsall. Hello, Mick.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
I was going to say that I've got a lot of respect for these demonstrators. That they obviously think they're doing the right thing. I just wish they'd go to Russia, China, India, or America to do the demonstration.
Why?
Because why pick on this small island?
Well, because we are mostly responsible for the pollution on Earth. We are. This tiny little island.
England.
Well, Britain. Yeah, all right.
Well, according to the map, where
England.
it shows you the map of all the different countries and the CO2 that these countries obviously produce.
Yeah, that's now though. I mean, if you look at all the CO2 that's been produced, because it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, the ruinous pollution that has been produced since the Industrial Revolution has mostly been produced by us. It's our fault.
I thought China produced the most CO2.
Yeah, maybe now.
Well, that's what I'm on about. It's now that you want to make the break.
Yeah, but the pollution doesn't start now. It started when the Industrial Revolution started, surely.
Yeah, but if you got this country, England, obviously, basically free of carbon, wouldn't do the trees a lot of good, I suppose, because they breathe in carbon. But
the trees are going to be just fine as long as we don't cut them down. They'll be just fine.
Yeah, but it's like I say, and you made it totally clean in this country.
Yeah, but the reason
it's not going to make any difference unless the bigger countries do the same thing. And they've said no.
Yeah, but we are exporting our pollution to other countries, Mick. You understand that, right? We have exported our pollution to other countries. Hell, we even export our waste to other countries. We're pretending that it's got nothing to do with us. It's like we take our rubbish and chuck it over the fence into the neighbour's garden and then congratulate ourselves for having dealt with our rubbish. Look, we've got no rubbish. We don't throw anything away. There is nothing left here. We've got no paper rubbish. We've got no plastics or glass or anything. But what we've done is we just chucked it next door. It still exists, Mick. We're just pretending that it doesn't. Anyway, thanks a lot. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. By the way, you should know that we put the Friday and Saturday night shows as podcasts and we stick them up the internet. We take the ads and the news out, which means it takes less time to listen to. Happily, that means you'll use less electricity, which means you won't have to sell a kidney to pay your fuel bill. Ask for them by name on an internet near you. Nick Abbott, the whole show.
Come on, we're running late!
This text says, Nick, I am a man ahead of my time. I have already put my clocks back 1 hour. It's now 10 to 12, and you have another 1 hour, 10 minutes of your show to go.
Oh, no.
Gaz says, it's called the Atlantic Conveyor Belt that brings warm water from the south to the Atlantic. Yeah, that's probably right. Yeah, there or thereabouts. It's called the Atlantic Meridional Gyre or something like that. Anyway, if it stops, big problem, huge. It's going to be as cold as Siberia around these parts. David says, I'm glad we're changing the clocks tonight because I forgot to do it the last time, so now everyone else will be back on the same time as me. You'll be right on time. Let's have a look. Who am I going to get? Wandsworth. Hello, John.
Hello.
Yes, John.
I on speakerphone. Yeah, listen. Hi, Nick. You are one of my favourite presenters on LBC.
But?
Sorry?
There's no but?
I always listen to you. No, you just seem to talk about all sorts of, intelligent things.
Yeah. I'm all over the shop. Here, there and everywhere, baby. Thanks, John. Is that
and,
okay.
No.
There's more.
I want to talk about, basically, I was a bus driver.
Right.
I was a bus driver in London for 9 years. Something happened to my life and I fell ill and I got a freedom pass.
A freedom pass?
I had
How much does it cost?
What do you mean?
It's free.
No, hang on. I'll explain. I fell ill.
Yeah, and you got a freedom pass. I get that. Do you know the bus driver's prayer?
Go on.
Well, do you know it?
No, I don't.
Right. It goes you know what? I could start it, but I probably couldn't get all the way through. It's something like, Our Father, who art in Erith, hallowed be thy name. Thy Kingston come, thy Wimbledon in Erith as we are in Endon. Oh, I got further than I thought I was going to get. No, can't remember the rest of it. Anyway, write that down, John, and thank me later. All right. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. Now I want to know what it is. Hang on a minute. The bus driver's prayer. I heard Ian Dury do this. Hang on. The bus driver's prayer. See if Google knows this. Oh, it's actually by Ian Dury. Huh, how about that? That's why I heard Ian Dury do it. Our Father who art in Hendon, Harrow Road be thy name, thy Kingston come, thy Wimbledon, in Erith as it is in Endon. Did I get that part right? Give us this day our Berkhampstead, and forgive us our Westminsters, as we forgive them who Westminster against us. Lead us not into Temple Station, and deliver us from Ealing, for thine is the Kingston, the Purley and the Crawley, for Ivor and Ivor, Crouch End. There you are, you see. Not completely stupid. Leicester. Hello, Tony.
Hello.
Tony.
Nick, I'm just wondering, do you remember the chopper bike?
Yes, I had one. Orange. 3 gears.
Mine was red. But, no, sorry, mine was the chipper.
Chipper?
The chipper bike, the one below where you got the 3 gears in the middle.
Yeah, that's a chopper.
Yeah, and then for the younger kids, you got the chipper.
Oh.
Right, and do you remember the power thing?
Power thing?
Which was on the front of the wheel, which was called a dynamo. Or is it dynamo?
Dymo. For the light. For the light.
Yeah. And you turn the lights up.
Right.
And they used to flash, and then you put your pack of cards with pegs on the
Oh, yeah,
back
most certainly did. Yes, made a tremendous noise. Yes.
Yeah. Lovely. Why can't the government or the world do something similar to that?
What?
A dynamo.
A dynamo?
Right, so
yeah. Dymo.
Yeah. It's free electric.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think it runs off your wheel going round. It won't make your wheel go round. Your wheel has to go round in order to make it work.
Yeah, and then health. If you're pedalling,
right,
and making electricity,
mm-hmm.
why can't they do this? I don't know what you call it now, Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or whatever. So everybody who pedals goes to a Wi-Fi thing,
yeah,
and generate electricity.
Oh my God, you're a genius, Tony. Finally, we have a solution.
Yeah.
Keep thinking is what you do best. Excellent work. Thanks a lot, Tony. Get Prince Charles on the phone. He's going to be delighted. What else? So many texts and emails. I'm falling behind. This says, have you seen the new film that is a prequel to The Sopranos, The Many Saints of Newark? It explains why so many of the characters are how they are. No, I have not seen it. Sue, I haven't been to the flicks in absolutely ages. I can't remember what I saw last. No idea. Sue emails, my husband and I went on a coach trip to Switzerland from our base in the Italian lakes. My overriding memory of that day was how clean the air was. It was positively intoxicating and made me realise just how bad and unhealthy our air is here. I've never experienced such clean air anywhere else before or since. I can't remember the name of the place, but we were taking photos of the Matterhorn. Well, was it the Matterhorn? I think that's a clue there, Sue. When I went to Luxembourg, when I came back, I noticed something that I'd never noticed before or since. Not really. It just struck me right in the face. It was that in Luxembourg, the streets were clean like in Disneyland. I mean, spotless. And I came back here, having spent 6 months out there, working on Radio Luxembourg. And what I noticed, something that I'd never really sort of occurred to me before, is that our streets are absolutely covered in chewing gum. Those little blobs of disgusting blech everywhere. And I'd never seen it before or since. Very, very clean place, Luxembourg. And also very, very exciting. Boring! Couldn't be more dull. I'll see if I can squeeze one in before I go. Hillingdon, Jesus, you have 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. So, hi, Nick. Thank you for the interesting shows. Very informative, important. I want to add the successor to horse-drawn carriages transport in 19th century was the petrol engine. But all governments, all industry are wrong about the successor to petrol engine cars. The successor are horses, bicycles, and our legs, because electric cars are not the answer to climate change action, because they require a huge amount of steel, plastic, and also roads are made by with tarmac. And
I understand where you're going with this, Sir Jesus. I'm going to have to cut it short because I'm running out of time. But I'm not sure that horses are the answer. I'm not sure we need any more sewage on our streets. But thanks for the suggestion. But it's a no from me. And furthermore... No. I'm going to be back at 10 o'clock this evening. In the meantime, Ian Payne will be here from 4 o'clock. But immediately and in person, it's Clyde Bull. 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 Person, it's Clyde Bull.